सारा काम खुद को ही करना है. It's not a shortcut for doing hard work, right? It's a safe space for conversations around databases. I see that it might not be the safest place क्योंकि कोई हाथ ही नहीं खड़ा करता है. स्क्रीन शेयर तो बहुत दूर की बात है. And we want to build a community that creates a learning environment for all levels. So please do share whatever you have in your mind. And yeah, let's move forward. In terms of mindset and expectations, I think this is already shared that this is a action bias and proactivity based cohort. So you'll have to write code. If you don't want to write code, you want to just listen, that's also fine. But I think if you want to get the most out of this cohort, you'll have to write code, and this is specifically designed to write code itself. Okay, and keep in mind that there is academic integrity here. Don't delegate your thinking to ChatGPT. Okay, you can obviously copy code, that's fine, but understand it first. Okay, we already have a weekly plan. Let me just go through that as well. So what we'll be doing is we are going to build a small database, a toy database today. And moving forward, what we'll do is we'll get into the details of how that works, how you can manage database schema and so on and so forth. And then we'll go on towards NoSQL systems as well and build those out too. So everything that you see, we are going to build it or try it out by hand. Okay, there is nothing that you'll not do by code itself. Okay, please import the calendar so that you can be notified. You can join every Saturday. In terms of reference books, I will be taking excerpts from Alex Petrov's books. As we in the slides, you'll see some of the images taken directly from Alex Petrov and modified, or they can be from the CMU's Carnegie Mellon University's database course. Okay, so those two are one of my favorite resources. This is a handbook or a reference book, as you may see, and this is one very good resource around that as well. Designing data-intensive applications is something that we'll refer more in the later part of the course. Yeah. In terms of the format, we all know the format. You will get assignments from today onwards. Anyone and everyone who has actually signed up will get assignments and tailored learning format and so on. Okay. Just a quick show of hands who have done the assignment itself. I just want to see if everyone is comfortable with JavaScript or not. Okay, Preksha is one, Utkarsh. Cool. All right. ठीक है, आगे बढ़ते हैं. Moving on to so this might be a quick recap for some of you folks. This might be something new, so I'll go a little slow. And if you see that I'm going too slow, you can ask me to speed it up as well. Or if I'm going too fast, you can ask me to slow down further too. Okay, so we'll start with database fundamentals first. First, what is DBMS, जो course पढ़ाते हैं, and what is a database? There is a subtle difference. DBMS is a collection of a lot of services that allow you to access data from something. Okay, and that something is what is a database. Okay, right. I'll deep dive into this quite a lot. So we'll start with how एक query कहाँ से आती है and वो query resolve कैसे होती है over a period of time. Okay, so if you have worked with an ORM, एक ORM से query आती है. Query is generally in a query language. It goes to the transport layer box. Right now, you can just assume everything is a black box, and I'll go into detail of every single box here itself. So first is cluster communication, which is a box that connects to other nodes. It will figure out बाकी के nodes alive हैं या नहीं है, and if they are alive, it will just show you a status message. It can also reroute your queries to those as well at the transport layer itself. The other box is about client communication. What this will do is it will take your query and move it further down the pipeline. Okay, it's still, mind you, in the same query language that you gave the query with. Okay, that query language could be anything. It could be plain English. It could be a structured query language, or it could be your ORM sending some random query as well. Okay, it could be some A.B.C.E, that kind of a query as well. So just functions also work fine at this level. So all you have to do is, from a client, send a query to the transport layer. The transport layer will then send this query to a query processor, which is composed of generally two parts. First one is a query parser, which will parse the query. It will divide the query into its own parts. Okay, and we'll do this as an exercise today. We'll divide the query into parts as part of this cohort. It parses, it interprets, and it validates that is this the right query language that I understand or not. Okay, if it is a yes, it will proceed. It will send it to the query optimizer. If it is a no, it will send an error message back to the client itself. Okay, it will send it back to the transport layer, and transport will send it back. But yeah, you get the point. Once everything is right about the query, the next step is to actually optimize the query. What optimizing means is it will rewrite the query into something that that the database is optimized for. Okay, so what it will do is it will rewrite based on the indexes that you have in the database, on the cardinality and the access methods. Okay, and feel free to pause me and ask questions here. Right. एक बार query optimizer ने query optimize कर ली based on however you want to structure that, जो भी database के हिसाब से defined होगा, then it sends the execution plan. Okay, it's not a query anymore. It's just an execution plan. Ki this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3. You have to join all of these things. It's you can assume that to be just like a simple flowchart that is getting sent to the execution engine. Right. So the execution engine has two parts. One is for remote execution, which can either send the query to the storage engine below, or it can send it to other nodes. Okay. So the remote execution हो रहा है, so it will go to some other node and that will resolve it. Otherwise, it can be locally executed too. You do the local execution. Local execution is a wrapper over your storage engine, which has 5 building blocks. One is a transaction manager. Just a quick show of hands, how many of you know what a transaction is? Can someone define that for me? Chat is also fine, or if anyone wants to speak up. Can anyone define what a transaction is? I'll just wait for 15 more seconds. Yeah. I think someone shared something on the chat. Right. I think this is a good enough abstraction. I think we can go with this. So it's a sequence of read-write operations that will be performed. So what a transaction manager does is it ensures that a transaction is happening. If any of the step fails, it will just undo any of the steps. Okay, so it's a sequence of steps, and if any of them will fail, it will just say that I cannot do this query. It will send you the error message, and everything will go back the same way it came in. Okay, there is a lock manager which ensures that there is data integrity, that the data is not corrupted or not used by multiple threads at the same time. Okay, because that's essentially what leads to corruption. If your kernel is using the data or space for something else, and then you are also using it for something else, then obviously it will get corrupted. So, and lock manager just ensures that only one thread is using the data at one point in time. Then we have access methods. Access methods allow you to access and organize data on the disk. They're generally pages in the disk that that are taking into a buffer, and then those buffers are then used to manage your queries. Generally, a B tree is used to organize the data as well. So indexes and all of these things are managed at this level itself. There is a buffer manager which acts as a cache. It caches data pages which are used frequently. There is a recovery manager which helps us recover database in cases of failure. So it keeps snapshots, and it can keep snapshots in various ways. One of the most famous ones is setting up a write-ahead log. Okay, wall logs is a short form for that. You probably hear this quite a lot in this entire thing. So what it does is it's just a sequence of steps. All of the queries that you've shared here, shared from the client to the database, it will just keep a log of everything, and then it will rerun everything again on the database from scratch, and it will get to the current state itself. Okay, yeah. Right, moving forward, just ensure, Asha. So I think I forgot to mention that generally you work at an application backend. This is a framework which could be Django, Nest.js, anything. Generally, it will do two things. One is it will act as a client to the database, and the other thing that it generally does is it manages schema. So it will manage your migrations, it will manage your database schema, and it could be in some other format that the database doesn't understand. But there is an object relation mapping that it is doing. So whatever schema that you have in the database, there is a one-to-one mapping to that in a much more friendlier way, which is what an ORM is doing. Right, because people think databases are hard. So that's one of the reasons why there are like hundreds of ORMs that are built every year. Right. One thing that is important about all of this is, and this is something that I've taken from CMU DB, that there is a storage hierarchy that generally is there in your CPU, in your system, and they include registers, caches, DRAM, SSD, HDD, and this is the network storage with which generally you transfer your data. So generally, these are divided into volatile and non-volatile storages, and they go from faster, smaller, expensive at the very top end of it to slower, larger, and cheaper. So generally, the objective of our database creation is to balance speed with is to balance speed with the expense that you are incurring. So generally you want to stay at the middle layer. So you want to be at DRAM SSD or DRAM SSD HDD kind of a database. This is something that you want to do. You don't want to use then network storage, and I'll come to why that is there. Yeah, so generally you want to keep just a memory, which is a DRAM and a disk. And these are some of the latency numbers that you generally see for everything. So as you can see, there is an order of magnitude difference between, let's say, if you want to build a KV store, right? You can have 100 nanosecond like latency there. But if you're building a database, this is the best that you can do, 16,000 nanoseconds. If you're doing a hard disk, this is the best that you can do. So at every level, it reduces. It adds a lot of latency. So if you have to do a very fast database, you probably want to do a KV, in-memory KV kind of a data store, which is something that we'll build later in the course. This is something that we'll build later in the course. Right now, for today, what we are doing is we are doing an SSD DRAM kind of a thing. Okay. Right. Moving and this is how you share the data. So you'll always share the data over network, which is like thousands of times slower than what an SSD is. So as you can see, it will anyway be a lot slower. Right. In terms of sequential versus random access, random accesses on a non-volatile storage is almost always slower than sequential access. So what you want to do is you want to keep the same data at one place. Okay. If you know that this is this is related data. You want to do sequential reads on them. You don't want to do random accesses. So ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि half of the table is at one place and then half of the table is at some other place and then so on and so forth. So you get the point. अगर data आसपास होगा तो it will be a lot faster, or at least it will be faster than any random access. Okay. Any database management system will want to maximize sequential access, which is something that we'll figure out how to do later in the course. But yeah, this is the end goal. Just give me a second, guys. I'll just have some water. One second. Yeah. Right. So, so what we do is we figure out algorithms which allow us to optimize. So, and why this is important is I'll just go back to this again because there are algorithms that are optimized for saving data in a RAM and getting data from a RAM because the RAM is a lot smaller. And then there are algorithms. So there are different algorithms for both of these layers, and we want to implement them both to actually optimize our performance based on the cost that we are willing to incur. Okay. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why we do all of this. So it cannot be as simple as just keeping everything in the RAM and then fetching it later. Cool. When we are defining database design goals, all of these are things that we need to keep in mind. So we want to allow for database to manage DBMS to manage databases that exceed the amount of memory available. So if your local RAM is, let's say, 5 GB, you still want to build a database which can hold 10 GB of data. Okay. Reading and writing to disk is expensive, so you must not do it for every operation. This is why a lot of these databases figure out what is happening the most and then do it with the cache itself. So that's one of the major portion of the algorithms that are written in database community is how to figure out what is happening the most and then caching it. Okay, so it's always about cache. Random access on disk is usually much slower than sequential access. This is something that we discussed earlier. You want to maximize sequential access. So we'll get into the algorithms of how this happens as well. Amount of volatile storage is a lot smaller and a lot costlier. This is something that we have already discussed. So we want to optimize based on all of these constraints, and that's something that we'll do. Yeah, cool. We can start building now. So what are we building? We are building a disk-based, row-based database management system, which is non-relational for now and single-threaded because the language that we are using is single-threaded only. So we'll keep with that. We'll go into multi-threaded implementations of databases later and how, and probably we'll start with multiple nodes as well moving forward. But yeah, for now, we'll keep it very simple. We'll say that there would be just one thread interacting with the database, one thread interacting with the data itself, so that there is no corruption in the data. In terms of the spec, there is an external query representation that the client is sending me a SQL, okay, in the previous example. And there is an internal query representation that we have custom made. We'll go over that. You can define what should be the right way. And that's something for every reader to, or every member of the cohort to figure out on their own on what should be the internal query representation. That's totally an internal implementation that everyone should follow their own. Okay. In terms of the components, that the boxes that I've shown earlier, these are the components that we'll pick. We'll create a small client, which will be a test case. There will be a query parser, there will be an execution engine, and there will be a storage, which will be a flat file storage. In terms of the flat file storage, we are going to pick, we can pick anything. There are multiple formats that allow you to do it. There's Parquet, there is Arrow, but we are going to keep it extremely simple here by taking it as a CSV. Okay. So just as a disclaimer, I'm not an expert. I've not been doing this for the last 10 years. So, and I'm also learning as part of the cohort. So if you have any questions, I may say that I cannot answer it right now, and I'll get back to you later. Okay. There is a lot of oversimplification that I've done at a lot of fronts to ensure that we move forward, and then we take on complexity later. So what we do is we build something today, and then we improve over the next 3-4 months. You're building a toy DB. It's don't use it for production. Don't share it unless this. Don't share it with anyone unless it's an actual like a classroom kind of a environment only. Don't quote me. Do your own research. And yeah, these are some of the things that I wanted to get out of the way. But why are we actually building a DBMS? Why not just build a database? It will serve as a playground for the existing experiments that I've planned for the next couple of weeks. So that's one thing. We'll also get into details of all of the components and see how they work, how the APIs are built for every interface, and how they improve over time. We'll be able to, a lot of the things that you see out there in open source are actually DBMS and not just DBs. So it will help. It will help you understand those better, right? Moving on, these are the building blocks that we'll touch and we'll build. Okay, I just highlighted them as red or brown. I don't know. Yeah. This is a very basic diagram of what we are going to build. There would be a client which will be a test case, which will send a SQL query to your query parser function. That query parser function will output a JSON form of the query. It will parse it to individual elements, and then there would be a function called execute select query, which will execute and return the results in the form of JSON. There is a storage reader that we have built that will take in a CSV or take in multiple CSVs and store them in a cache, which is your memory anyway. So this is something that we are also going to add. So there is an automated buffer that is already implemented as part of the storage reader. So we don't have to build it again. But yeah, this is what we're going to do. Some of the things that you can go through, I'll just click on some of them. So DuckDB is an in-process engine. So SQL engine, I don't know, they call themselves as DBMS, but I'm not sure if it is 100% DBMS or not. But what it does is it allows you to, if you provide a SQL, it will let you run that SQL on multiple environments. So it can be run on a CSV, it can be run on Arrow, Parquet, it can run on your SQLite, it can also run on your Postgres. So the same query can run on anything. That's the kind of environment that DuckDB provides. We'll get into the details of the architecture of how DuckDB is, if time allows. We'll also get into how MySQL is doing the CSV storage engine. So this is something that they've been doing this for quite some time. So it's a very old commit. But yeah, so this is a class that we'll go through. So this is everything that we are building right now that they have already built. So this is a storage engine, the last block that they've built. CSV as a storage engine. Pandas is just a query engine similar to DuckDB. It allows you to store. It allows you to read a CSV file and then query in a much different way than what a SQL is. But yeah, it is a very close to a query engine as it can be, because it allows you to do complex querying. It allows you to do aggregate some joins, complex joins, so on and so forth. Okay, right. Right. So we'll be building a SQL query engine over CSV in JavaScript, and let me just. So I think some of the slides are still empty, and this is something that we'll do in the class itself. Let me just stop sharing this because I'll share something else. Any questions up till now? We can take questions right now. You can put them on chat and we can take them async later as well. Okay, let's move forward. Right, so this is a small tutorial series that I've created. What it has is the end state of what we need to build. Okay, so I started working on this a week ago, and it has steps around setting up the project, creating a simple CSV reading function, then building a basic SQL query parser, integrating CSV with query parsing, and so on and so forth. So it has all of these steps. And until step number 13 or step number 14, we already have the tutorials for those as well. Okay, so if you go to tutorials and go to 01.md, you'll find how to set up a basic project. Let me just share this here as well. And this is an exercise that everyone has to do along with me. Okay, so what you can do is you can go ahead and start doing this and start sharing if you've already done step number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, what I'll do is I'll share my screen and I'll also do this parallelly with everyone. If you find any issues, what we have also done is we have branches where you can see what is the end outcome of step number 1. Okay, what is the end outcome of step number 2? So if you're facing any issues, if you're not able to understand anything, this is something that will allow you to do that. Okay, so if you, let's say, you're on step number 6, this is how you can see what the output of step number 6 should be. Okay, you can go to the source, see if your implementation is the same as the implementation that I've done here. And of course, it can vary. So everyone has to build their own databases, so it can vary, of course. But you can take inspirations from whatever I wrote. Okay. Also, there are tests for every single thing that you write. And let me show you how this all works. One second. I'll share my screen now. Let me know if you're able to see my VS Code. Is it visible? Yes.
Yes, it appears credentials.
Got it. So what we have is, after every step, all you have to do is you have to run npm tests. So what I've done is, for my implementation, I have like 69 tests until now, until step number 14, and all of them are passing. So this is a basic requirement of everyone to write tests, and this is the volume of tests that you need to write for every single tutorial. So with just 13, there are 69 tests. Okay, so you can just assume that there are 5 to 10 tests for every single thing, and there are lower number of tests for the initial thing because the amount of code is low and less complex. Okay, I would recommend you to install this extension, because what it does is it allows you to just go to a test and see that. Let me just change this, and it will start showing a cross. Okay. So this is a handy tool that will allow you to see if your tests are running fine or not. Okay, and the tests are generally written in. So all I'm doing is I'm trying to execute a SQL query and seeing if the output is right or not. Okay. What I've done is I've added 2 CSVs. One is called student.csv, which has ID, name, and age of people. And for the initial 4 to 5 tutorials, you'll find that this is enough. And moving forward, what I've done is I also created a CSV called student ID, called enrollment.csv, which has student ID and course. And this will be used for join related queries, and inner join, left join, right join. All of those things will allow you. It will allow you to test those out as well. Keep these as the same, because then you can just copy paste my test cases and it should work fine. But yeah, every implementation would be different, and I would expect people to improve on the implementation that I have right now. and yeah, and raise PRs, of course, raise PRs if you find anything that is missing in the implementation that I've done. In terms of the code, initially the code starts with just two files. One is index.js, which is the actual execution thing. Let me just walk you through that as well. You'll just find a single module.exports, which is just executing a SQL query. And there would be a query parser, which will have parse query as the base function. Okay. There would also be a CSV reader file, which would just read CSV. This is just a basic getting all of the data in memory kind of a step. Okay. Cool. Any questions up till now? Ranjan, do you have a question? Yeah.
If everyone is clear and everything, just give us a thumbs up, guys. And then if you have a question, please go ahead and ask it. Either in the chat or you can just unmute and ask.
Hello. Cool. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll start with the first step. Okay, and everyone can start with the first step, and then I'll stop sharing my screen. Or wait, let me just do one thing. I'll do the first step with everyone. Okay. Or first step is done. Great, Ranjan. Can you share your screen, if possible? Anyone else with the first step done? Ranjan, would it be okay if you share your screen?
Do you guys have access to unmute yourselves?
Cool. Anyone else trying this out with the first step done? Radhe, Dhruv?
Hey, yeah. मैं कर दूसरी चीज़ देख रहा था, repo देख रहा था मैं. I'm just doing it now.
Got it. Okay, I think it would be a good exercise to do the first 4 or 5 steps in the class itself. So Ranjan, I'm just trying to see if the setup is perfect or not, and that's it. And I'll just I'm not able to see your screen. I'm seeing a black screen right now. I have pinned as well. Can you reshare? Is it just me, or I'm not able to see screen? I'm still seeing a black screen.
I think it is a problem with Ranjan's internet connection.
I don't think it's. Okay, I can see it now. Great. So the tests are also running fine. Have you also installed the Jest VS Code extension?
No, sir. I was working on terminal.
Okay, that's also fine. I think terminal works well as well.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Okay, anyone else with the first step done? You guys can just share it here itself. In the meanwhile, what I'll do is I'll also start with the first step. Okay, let me share my screen. लाइव डेमोज में कभी टाइप नहीं कर पाता मैं. Shit. Why is this happening? Why am I on main? अच्छा ठीक है. Git checkout the right branch. Tute base. Okay, so I do have the tutorials. I don't have any code. I'll start with the first one.
I think you should also remove the node modules.
I'll just remove those. Okay. All right, I get the package JSON. These are this. Great, Radhe. Anyone else done with the first step? Anyone else doing the first step? Makes sense. Did we not install Jest? Acha, TypeScript के लिए. Radhe, this is right now a JavaScript only thing. Are you facing that as part of the types?
Yeah, I'm facing it. It's a node project only for me.
Acha. Okay. This is weird. Let me just copy this, make a test. I have to create a test index test.js. I'll add a dummy test to it. Okay. All right. I'm done with the first one. Okay. What's the second one? Anyone done with the first one? Himanshu is also done. Started with the second one. How many have started with the second one? I'm starting with the second one. All right. All we have to do is create a CSV called sample.csv right now. Okay. Sample.csv. All right. What are we doing next? We are creating a function to read CSV. Okay. What should we name it? CSV reader.js. Okay. CSV reader is there. And then there is a small test to see if I'm able to read the CSV or not. Okay. Okay, let's write this test. Let's remove the older one. I don't need it. Let's see if this is working fine. Okay. There is a bug. What's the bug? Am I not exporting CSV reader .js?
I think let's ask people in the call to resolve this problem.
Yeah, anyone else facing this issue?
Yeah, I'm also facing the issue, but it's not this one. It's a different one.
Okay, but how do we resolve this one? Can you see my screen?
I think your import is wrong. Double dot src. No, I have done the same thing. I've done the same thing. No issues.
No issues with this one?
Not in tests.
Okay.
You're not in the SRC folder, Chakshu. You need to create a SRC directory. And then
Nice. Good catch.
Yeah.
ठीक है, SRC folder बनाते हैं. SRC, I'll put my CSV reader in the SRC folder. Okay, now this should run. All right. Okay. Test में लिखा क्या था? We were testing if data.length is greater than 0. Data length is 3. How many samples do we have here? We have 3 samples. Data 0th data is John. Okay, age is 30. Okay, cool. So we are able to pick all of this by a dot notation. This is extremely important why we have taken CSV parser. The specific CSV parser that we have taken allows us to do this. And this is very important because this will allow us to create SQL queries and convert them into this kind of a structure where we are asking for data 0.age or data something.name. So all I have to do is if I'm doing select name from sample, all I have to do is select all names, get all of the data, and then data.name will directly work. This is extremely important why we have taken this as a CSV reader. Okay, right. Hey guys, anyone else facing issues? Step 2 done for everyone? Hello? ठीक है. Anyone else stuck on step 1?
Guys, you can just react if everything is going fine. You can just send a thumbs up. Himanshu, Akshay. Step 2
Okay, what is failing, Himanshu? Himanshu, do you want to share your screen and show us what's failing? As a CSV file not found. Okay. All right. Other than Himanshu, anyone else trying this out?
Can you show your index.test.js file? But the data.length should be 4 now in the CSV. It's
for me it's 3 only.
Like, why not the header? For me, it's giving error. Expected 3, received 4.
Are you using the same CSV reader that I'm using?
In the repository, is it the same one? The one that is in repository?
Yeah.
Yes, then same.
So CSV parser will give you data directly. Okay. So I'm picking the data only. I'm not picking the headers. So what it does is it takes in the CSV, gives you JSON objects out of that. JavaScript objects.
Where are you ignoring the headers in this?
No, you don't have. It doesn't give the headers itself. It's not parsing the data.
For my case, why just is failing that test case. It is expecting 4. Like expecting 3, but I'm getting 4.
Can you check if you have the same package that I have?
Yes. Yeah.
CSV parser 3.0.0.
1 second. CSV, yeah, 3.
Can you show me your screen? Anyone else facing this issue?
Is it visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. Sample is in root. Test is here. 3 CSV file here, and CSV reader is in here. Data pushing it. Same code. It's here. It's feeling expected 3, received 4.
Can you print the data itself?
Yep.
In the test case?
Yep. Here
You're getting an empty object at the end. I think the CSV that you've created has an empty row at the very end. You can just remove that.
My bad. Let's see. Yeah, fine.
All right. Okay. Anyone else stuck at? Just ensure that there is no extra line at the end of it. Anyone else done with 2 steps? Should we move forward? Okay. I think that's the majority of people who are generally doing a thumbs up. We move forward with the next step. Okay. Step number 3. Step number 3 में क्या कर रहे हैं? Building a basic SQL query parser. That's interesting, at least to me. You create a new file called queryparser.js, and right, we'll create a function called. As a quick show of hands, everyone is able to understand what's happening in terms of methods that are there until now. Okay. Can anyone help me understand what this line is doing? So I'm on step number 3. What am I doing right now? Dhruv, are you there? Yeah. Right. I'm parsing out the table name and fields. And this is what's happening. Why is it like this? Why is there a empty object in the first place and then fields and table? What are fields and table here?
Just a second.
So what we're doing is we actually, so we are like parsing the query and we are like matching what is whatever the regex that we the response we get from the regex in the fields and table, or what exactly, let me check.
So if I print this out, what will I get? क्या आना चाहिए यहाँ पे? For let's pick a sample query as well. Let's add a CSV test case here. Test execute a SQL query, and ठीक है. I think this seems to be fine as a test case. ठीक लग रहा है? Let's not do all of these things. Let's expect the length to be 3. है ना? We are selecting everything. Selecting ID name from sample. Yeah. So क्या आना चाहिए? Can anyone help me understand what should be the output of if I do this, and if I use query parser में क्या export कर रहा हूँ मैं? Parse query. Let me create a small test for this. Parse query, const parse query. Equal to require source parse query parser. ठीक है. So if I'll run this test, it will show me the output. But what should be the output here? Anyway, fields of table में क्या आना चाहिए depending on this query? Can anyone help me understand? किसी ने लिखा है यहाँ पे? ID, name, and sample. Great. So let's just test this out as well. npm test ID, name, and sample. Cool. So what I'm doing is I'm ignoring the first parameter. If I don't ignore the first parameter, what should be the first parameter? Who can answer that? So this is, let's say, extra, and I print out extra as well. What should be the first parameter?
We have an answer from Utkarsh. He's saying select.
Great. Let's try this out. And what did we get? We got the entire thing. Why did we get the entire thing? What is the first parameter when we do a query.match? Okay, that's an exercise for everyone. Just let me know why this is working fine. Okay. For now, this is working fine for me. I only care about these two parameters. ID and name निकालना है मुझे database में से from the CSV sample. So it is working fine for me. But I'll need an answer the next time from you, Utkarsh. Okay. Cool. Cool. So parse query का output क्या होना चाहिए? I'm trying to figure out if I'm able to pick the right fields and the right table. Okay. So parse query ka output should be equal to something like a field, fields, ID and name, and then table as a sample. Let's see if my query parser is working fine or not. Okay. What's wrong? I'm getting an undefined. Why am I getting an undefined? I'm returning fields.split. Fields को मैं split कर रहा हूँ. Fields were ID, name, split करके map करके trim कर रहा हूँ. Why am I getting this wrong? Let me just print this out. Console.log fields table. नहीं, ये पूरा print कर देता हूँ. Okay. Let's see. I should not receive undefined. Is it even throwing an error? No, I'm getting ID and name here and then sample here. So this is working fine. This is working fine. So is it not returning something? Oh, sorry, my bad. Okay. The result has to be this, not result.length has to be this. Okay, cool. अभी क्या दिक्कत है? What did I receive?
It should not be 2B.
It should be to strict equal. Yeah, it's already telling me what it should be. All right, so this is working fine. So I'm now able to figure out from this query, what are the fields that I want to get out of a database and the table that I want to use. Okay, so these are the two important fields, two important things that I want to get out of this. Okay, and I think this completes the third tutorial. इतना ही है. We do have a
Adds the ability for us to query data from a CSV using SQL now, right? That sounds cool.
Okay. So all we are doing is we are converting this string to an object, which we can use later to query the data from a CSV directly. Okay. Let's go to the next step. Next step में क्या है? We are integrating the CSV reading with query parsing. Okay. We are going to source index.js. I don't have an index.js. Index.js. I'll move it here. Okay, I'll create this thing. What is it doing? It is taking up fields and table from the parsed query that I created. Okay, it's taking up. Okay, it's dynamically picking up the right CSV. So if my table is sample, it will parse sample.csv dynamically, and then it will do what? Filter the fields based on the query. So okay, so my data right now would be an array. Data will be an array of objects. Okay, object, as we have seen earlier. And now data.map map will allow me to get a subset of the data. I want to check for filtered. I want to figure out filtered rows. Okay. I want to filter rows based on my query. The fields, yeah, fields and ID or name. For every ID and name, I want to pick all of the objects that are of filtered row dot field. So it will pick up data dot ID, data dot name, and it will return the filtered row. Okay, cool. I think this will allow me to create a small test. Let me just go ahead and create a small test. जब मैं इसको execute करूँगा तो I should get all three objects. Okay. So this was just parse SQL query. Now this is execute query as well. Execute select query. Okay, it's already picked up execute select query खुद से. Now the result should be equal to something like a array of an array of objects which are like ID, name, John, Jean. हाँ ठीक है. This seems fine. Is this the right test? यही आना चाहिए. Everyone? I'm not looking at. I'm just typing खुद से. कोई है? चले गए सारे. ठीक है. Let's try to run this test. npm test. All right, this passes. So what we have done is we've created our own SQL engine which does a SQL query and it gives you the right results. This is brilliant, right? You don't need Postgres anymore. Cool. Okay. I think this step took me to next level. All right. Let's start with step number 5. And I believe this is the last step that we can take. And then we have to drop off. Okay, step 5.
I think let's ask people to do step 5 and we stay here for any doubts. We are already 10
Makes
minutes.
sense. Makes sense. Let me just stop. Okay. I'll stop sharing. Anyone else doing step number 5? और कौन step 5 पे पहुंच गया? Okay. Great. 2 people. Yes, are you also following along?
Yeah, I already did step 5.
Acha.
I think whatever step everyone is on, we should let them complete it. Take up any doubts that they might have, and then just
Sure. Makes sense. In the meanwhile, what I'll do is I'll just share the next steps as well.
Yeah.
Can everyone see my screen? The presentation?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Moving forward, what we'll do is we'll do 2 things. One is there are some tickets that whoever wants to take up, just reach out to Yash and Yash will assign those to you. Anyone who has filled the form can only pick tickets right now because we are looking for intent. And this can be taken up once you have done all of the 14 steps. Okay. Yeah. Anyone saying something? Okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Cool. The second thing is we want everyone to go through this challenge. So this is a 1 billion row challenge, which is something that we all would participate, and we'll figure out who's doing the best here. Okay. So this is a challenge by Gunnar Morling. And what he's trying to do is he's trying to figure out who has the fastest implementation to aggregate 1 billion rows. Given we are not doing it in Java, what we'll do is we'll do it in our way, whatever way that we are doing, but we'll do it by adding all of the rows to a CSV and then aggregating them. We'll figure out how fast we can go. But Gunnar Morling's own implementation took 4 minutes and 13 seconds, and then there is decreasing levels of time that you can see. The best out there is right now at 7 seconds. We'll figure out how to make how to do it in under 30 seconds. I believe we all can do it in under 30 seconds. And even if it takes a month to figure out the right algorithms and everything, I think we'll be able to do it. Right. Cool. Moving on. I think this part is on QA discussion and feedback. Yash will share a feedback form. We would like to know what next. I mean, what else we can include in the cohort? What we should exclude? More importantly, exclusions are more important than inclusion. So let me know if we need to change the format somehow and so on and so forth. Okay. You can share your feedback by just going to this URL and sharing feedback. So if you guys can just take a screenshot of this and share feedback later, or yes, if you can just add this link to the WhatsApp bot as well. WhatsApp thing as well. Yeah.
I shared the link in chat here. I'm sharing it on WhatsApp as well.
Right. We're also looking for volunteers. So reach out to Yash if you want. If you would want to volunteer by for building the course itself. So if you must have seen, there is a lot of work that went into building all of these 14 tutorials, and we'll be building more. So we'll need more help. All hands on deck kind of a situation here. I personally wrote around 3,500 lines of code. So any help would be appreciated. So, and you will be seeing the next version of the database firsthand. So if there is anything that you would want to contribute on, please reach out to Yash. And yeah. All right. Spread the word. If you find this interesting, reach out to your friends, get them here, and we want this community to be thriving and more responsive. Thoda sa next time we'll try to get more involved, do more hands-on, and do pair coding as well. Okay. Cool. I'll stop sharing. I think this is it from me. Let's take questions if there are any.
How many people here have done more than 3 steps?
Can you guys just share कौन किस step पे है? That's it. Just share the number here in chat itself. Okay, Ranjan 4. Radhe is already on 7th step. Great, Radhe. 5. Great. Anything that you're not able to follow, everyone? किसका आंसर नहीं आया है? I don't want to cold call, but just share कौन से step पे है कोई. I've gotten 5 answers. Great. Cool. Yes, do you think we can take this in office hours? The next steps?
Yeah, I think we should do that.
Hannah?
So guys, we'll be conducting office hours on Discord for 30 minutes to around an hour every day during the evening for anyone to ask any doubts that they might have. So please join the Discord server. I've shared the invite here in the chat. And if you have any questions, you can just ping me or anyone from the cohort there, and we can just have a healthy discussion and everyone can help everyone out.
Cool. Great. I think we can close it now.
Yeah.
Radhe?
Do we want to assign tickets to the people who are here in the call right now?
Let's take consent first. Guys, if you want to if you're interested in taking up tickets, just comment on the ticket that is not taken already, and we'll assign those to you. Does that make sense? Everyone? Cool. Okay, so just go to those tickets. Just comment on them that you would like to take those up, and Radhe.
There is one issue in task 6 in test.
Okay.
The test that you are checking to equal here in example test.
Okay.
It should also have where clause because if it where is empty, it is giving an empty array also. It has fields, it has table to expect.
Can you show me the test, Igor? I'm not.
Uh-huh.
Sorry. Can you show me a screen? I'm not following right now.
It's visible.
Yeah, it's visible.
So if there is no where clause in the query, so it is expecting empty. It should be empty, but there is no where clause, so I had to add one.
Oh, got it. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
you have to update the old tests, right? I think we have added that as a do-it-yourself exercise to update the previously failing tests. In
No,
the-
yeah,
so
I'm just referring to this test in task 6 only.
No. So we are not going to update the older tests. So moving forward, जो stub share हो रहा है ना, that will reduce quite a lot.
Okay.
So you'll see like 50 tests failing when you add the next feature.
Got it.
That will that is expected to happen because the complexity is increasing, and we want. This was just a start to get everyone started on trying this out. So you'll have to fix the tests on your own. If क्योंकि otherwise it would be too much of a spoon feeding is what. हाँ. तो बस वो देख लेना एक बार कि if but if you see the results of the next test, you'll see that I've added an empty array anyway.
Yeah, I just
है ना?
fix it.
वो देखोगे तो you'll find that. So not everything is shared, but I think what I can do is I can share that once you do this, your test will start failing. That's something that, as a disclaimer, yes, that's a good point. Let's add that. That once you go to the next step, you can see all of it as failing, and you'll have to fix them all. Right? ठीक है. Are you guys doing right now on the call, everyone? I can stay for another 10 minutes. Let me know if that helps. Thumbs up दे देना if that helps. ठीक है. Let's stay on the call for 10 more minutes.
Assign the intersect clause implementation of SQ2 your engine. You can go ahead and take it up.
Great. I can already see comments.
So do we keep the assignments to one issue per person, or
Yeah,
must
I
each
think
person have multiple issues?
let's keep it one per person for now.
Okay.
Because they'll already have like a lot of work going until step 20. So
Yeah.
that's still a lot of work. That's heavy lifting. I think that's around 20-25 hours of work, maybe even more. If you're not cheating, it would take that much amount of time.
I don't think people staying till 6:30 would be cheating. I don't think people staying till 6:30 would be cheating.
No, I don't think that will happen. I think there is academic integrity here, and everyone is doing it for learning only.
Do you agree with this, guys? Or are we just assuming?
Otherwise, what's the point of commit next commit पे जाके you can already get the code. So it doesn't help. This is just like going to MySQL and seeing the code itself.
Yeah.
You can only learn by writing code yourself. Okay, guys, any issues on step number 6 or 7, wherever you are? Yeah, I think then we can close this. WhatsApp, Discord, kahin pe bhi, you guys can reach out if you're facing any issues on any steps. And either Yash or I would respond. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for joining us. Thank you, Chakshu, for taking the session.
Thanks, Yash. Thanks, everyone. Okay. Bye.
Bye.